From the valiant return of old factions to the rise of new overlords, the Bricklink Designer Program Series 5 has revealed the castles. From smallest to largest, here are the biggest, most outlandish LEGO castles you can vote for. At least one is almost certain to be a finalist, but which will you fight for? Before pledging your allegiance, we must check them out, and we start here at the Bandit Lord's Hideout, smallest in our top 15 countdown, but still made up of 3,421 pieces. We are in for a treat with some of these submissions, and this is no exception. Immediately, I do love the exterior detailing on this castle made for the Wolfpack faction, one that I ideally want to see a return of. I'm loving the lava and the rocks underneath as well. It's a superb choice. Perhaps, though, it is because of the brilliant exterior detailing that the interior is somewhat cramped and a little bit sparse, which is surprising in a model of this size. I would like to have seen more. That said, it does open out to reveal some extra secrets, and what a hideout this is. It does look fantastic. I can see our Lion Knights here quickly being taken prisoner and hung over the lava. Now, if you like the look of this, what you need to do is head on over to Bricklink and vote for it. That goes for any and all in this video. This is a countdown of the 15 largest and, quite frankly, most impressive builds that we're going to be seeing. There are others in the medieval lineup as well, and I'll do a separate video for those too, so make sure to subscribe. This one also comes with 10 minifigures, most dedicated to the Wolfpack, which would be so welcome to see a return of. And a quick note on size, 3,421 pieces. Yes, it's going to be at the more pricey end. The maximum amount of pieces that any of the Bricklink Designers submissions can be is 4,000, the minimum 400, and once the 5 finalists are chosen, the average set size will be 2,500 when worked out across those 5 final designs. It's all down to what you vote for between now and the 14th of June as to what is going to get selected. Castles, at least one of them anyway, almost always makes it to be a finalist. Will it be this one? Let me know if you're voting for it in the comments down below. Moving on though, we come to this, the River Knights Watchtower. A very quaint, fantastical, almost whimsical design. I can hear sort of the lute playing as we delve into this little world. And whilst I am usually biased towards wanting to see a return of some of the old factions who haven't been represented in LEGO form in such a long time, I'm not against getting a new faction if it's done really well. And I think this is one that has had a lot of thought go into it. We've got an arrangement of different minifigures that we would be getting, and certainly a nice layout to this castle. There's a lot of intrigue going on here. It's a good shape. The colours certainly pop. Size-wise, this one's number 14 on the list, 3,546 pieces. If you want to head on over and read the description that the fan designer has put on here, there's a little bit of a story going into it as well. Overall, whenever it comes to castles, I need to think about how well is this going to integrate into my existing setup. Would I be happy to have this on display? Well, I do think it's quite different. I like the fact we've got the little water wheel here, that there is the ship coming in. I would put more blue base paint around, maybe some transparent tiles on top as well to really give it that impression of being surrounded by water on the riverside. And I do think that it's been prettily done. There's some lovely detail in there. It's got a lot going for it. If it was chosen, I would probably support it come the crowdfunding stage. That said, it's not my favourite. There are others in this list that I would rather see win out. But as always, that is just me. Let me know in the comments what you think of each of these, which one you're going to be voting for. This next one is a little bit different, a medieval prison, and very ominous looking it is too. I suppose the whole point of a fortress prison is that it would be rather repressive, although I do think that this perhaps captures that just a little bit too much. Whilst it does have some nice details throughout and a decent smattering of colouring, I don't think it lends itself to being a particularly nice display piece. I mean, sure, there is some good interest, the fact that it comes apart, there's playability there, but it's still fairly small on the inside, and I want our knights to be roaming free, not locked up in chains. I just think that when closed up, I just feel that whilst I do really like modulars, when it's all closed up like this, everything is hidden. It's not going to look good on display. I mean, even the inner courtyard here, it's nice to have the tree, but quite frankly, it's just cramping things too much. Just my opinion. I feel it's too difficult to actually get in there and play. You can't really see what's going on. So I'm not a fan of this one. I'm not against the modular aspect. That definitely is a big tick in the box, but just the the overall construction, too hard to play with, not the sort of thing that I would like to have on display. So it's a pass from me. Size-wise, this one is 3,587 pieces, and it has been designed well. I have to give credit for that. It's a good concept. To my eye, though, it is a little bit flawed. The next contender is this, the Wolves' Den. If it looks familiar to you, it is because it has, in a slightly different form, been proposed via, was it LEGO Ideas or Bricklink before? I think it's LEGO Ideas, actually. It's reached 10,000 supporters. I'm sure I featured it in my video not that long ago for LEGO Ideas. It has had a few changes though, a few extra playability options that I'm seeing here. And what a great fortress it is, again, for the Wolfpack faction. So many of us do want to see this return. This is a great image of it as well. You can see with it coming apart here, there's a lot going on. Obviously to be expected, 3,671 pieces, but I think that it's all been thought through very well. It's imposing, very impressive. I love the shaping, the use of colours. Definitely one that would be fantastic on display. But there is a lot going on here as well. I feel that with this one, the fan designer has really thought through the playability elements, probably actually got down, I'm guessing, and thinking about all the different things that Castle fans want to be seeing, and has captured it brilliantly. Now, of course, having already achieved support on LEGO Ideas, you may be thinking, why vote for this? Personally, I would vote for this because I'd like to see it made as a Bricklink set. That way, it doesn't need to take up a slot from LEGO Ideas. There were so many strong submissions in that particular round. It frees up something. It potentially frees it up for something else whilst still getting this. So even if you have voted for the version of it on LEGO Ideas, do so on Bricklink as well. At least that way, there's more of a chance of getting it via one of them. So really cool. I do like this design. And by the way, as always, I have no affiliation with any of the designers or designs that we're looking at here. These are purely my own opinions. You vote how you want to. I really don't care in that way. The next one is this Mouldy Rock. This looks to me like Vikings have invaded and taken over a castle, making it their new stronghold. And I do like it a lot. We've had the Viking village and obviously the different revivals of castles over the past couple of years, whether it be through Ideas, Icons, Bricklink, etc. This is a wonderful combination of the two. I think that it would really work to bring the displays together if you do have those different sets already. And there's certainly a lot of fun to be had as well. We even appear to have a certain pirate masquerading as a Wolfpack member. I just think that a lot of nice parts have been used here. It's been cleverly thought out. There's quite a lot of ruins here in the rural part of England that I'm in, which used to be fortresses made up exactly like this. The mixture of wood and stone palisades, you know, the watchtowers mixed between the wood and the thatching on the battlements. It's very evocative of that sort of thing. So personally, I like it a lot. And whilst it is rather cramped on the inside, I have to say that after making my comments earlier on a couple of the other ones, I feel that it does still have quite a bit of playability, so it sort of gets away with it. 3,798 pieces, naturally again, a very big set. The fan designer has popped in here that this is more of a fantastical castle, and I think that they have achieved that really well. Next up, we come to the Archer's House, part of Falcon Castle, and perhaps I'm being a little bit dense, but unfortunately I am struggling to understand exactly what the designer is trying to say here. I think the gist of it is that this is only one part of 3 designs that they're planning, but I have to say that at 3,814 parts, if they think this is only one of 3 they're going to be doing, that's a little bit ridiculous. However, that said, I could be completely misinterpreting it, in which case I do stand to be corrected. Putting that aside though, let's judge this purely as it appears. And first things first, it's certainly imposing. Put in perspective with our minifigures here, a very impressive scale. Reminds me of several European-style castles that I've seen over the years, and it'll open out as well for different display options, and of course, giving easier access to that interior. Once again, something which unfortunately I feel is just rather bare, to say the least. Particularly on this side, doesn't look like anything's happening. Yes, there is over here, although at this point it seems to become a little bit cramped. It doesn't feel like there's much idea of story here or flow to the layout of this particular castle, where the exterior has had a lot of detail and I think time and attention thrown at it, so it does look good. The interior has suffered. I assume there's just simply not enough parts left. 4,000 is the maximum, so it was coming close to that, and perhaps a bit of time restriction as well. So certainly not my favourite. I feel that this is missing out on heart, on story. I mean, there's no denying that it has been really nicely detailed. I almost feel though that when it comes to some of these castles, being a little bit too accurate and careful can be detrimental. I mean, this has been really well done, but almost too well done in a sense. It's so imposing and thorough that it doesn't have some of the tongue-in-cheek that other submissions and indeed official Lego castles we've had before have had to offer. So overall, it has a lot going for it. It's better in several ways than many of the other submissions, but for me, it does also miss the mark in a couple of areas. So, we move on to the Skull Keep. Certainly an interesting concept, a mixture of piratey themes with, of course, wizardry castles. It's certainly fantastical, and my first impression is that there is a lot going on here, almost too much. I don't really know where to look exactly. Now, from a play perspective, that is a good thing because there is lots going on, but from a display point of view, I feel it needed to be pared back a little bit. The other problem that I have with this haunted castle is that the grand majority of our figures are skeletons. Now, for a 3,900 piece set, I'm sorry, 10 minifigures, I never include skeletons as minifigures. I know that technically they are, but skeletons are a dime a dozen. If I'm paying the sort of money that this would be, and it would be a lot, I would be extremely disappointed if I just got 8 skeletons and then a couple of main minifigures. That's just simply the way I feel. So, cool concept. Love the fact that the designer has actually built a version of this. It's not just a digital mock-up. That is good because obviously they can actually play with it, really think it through. Big thumbs up for that. But I almost want to see this pared back a little bit. There's too much going on for my eyes to fully take in here. I want other minifigures, not just all skeletons. Throw in some ghosts, some ghouls, I don't know, a zombie or two that an evil wizard's brought back. Just not all skeletons. Moving on then, we come to our snowy prison stronghold, where the Black Falcon Knights are taking the Wolfpack prisoner. We already had the Mountain Fortress by Sleepless Night in Series 1 of the Bricklink Designer Program, something that I do have on pre-order and look forward to receiving, but because of that, I really don't feel the need for something else that's attributing a sort of snowy fortress to this particular faction. It's quite nicely done, from the little detailings of the rocks and snow on the mountainside through to the fortress itself, but when it comes down to having to choose where I'm going to be voting, I'm afraid it won't be here. I do want something that's quite a bit more different from this. Next up is the Black Brick Knights Castle, and the shaping is certainly quite cool. It's these sorts of quirky design features which I always feel do look nicer when you actually have them on show on a shelf or a table or wherever it is you're going to be putting it. And there's also nice splashes of colour throughout as well, which is always good to see because of course when you have so much grey for these castles, you do need those pops of colour just to alleviate it, highlight it, make it better overall. It has some good proposed minifigs too, and of course opens out for full access to the inside. Just a simple unhinge and unfold, which is good to see, gives nice easy access overall. Definitely a good submission, 3,942 pieces and 8 minifigures overall. It's a strong contender again, something that certainly wouldn't look out of place alongside some of the other medieval builds that we have got over the past couple of years. Our next submission is Wolves Cavern, an intriguing design that boasts lots of hiding places for our minifigures. I do enjoy the concept of course, the water running through beneath the castle and, of course, this very large and sprawling tree. From a practicality point of view, I think that it would make play quite difficult to actually get in and do anything here, but from a display point of view it will work. A downside is the very cramped interior. There's little to do here, which is a shame. Again, I feel that so many pieces have gone into creating an intriguing exterior that the interior becomes a little cramped again. At least it does fold out and has some fun little play options. My thoughts are though that it would be better had it not been quite so cramped here. Open it out a little bit more, give us a bit more space. This is the sort of set that wants to be played with. That's how I feel. It looks intriguing and interesting. You know, it's a cavern, it's a hideout. I do want to get in there and, you know, just have some fun with it, not just simply show it off. What I prefer though is this, the medieval outpost. This has a quirky layout, a nice different colour palette, something that's really going to make it stand out from others that we've seen in the past. The downside is that it's been made for the Lion Knights, and having already had the Lion Knights castle, I do want to see some of the other factions represented. I really want them brought back, otherwise we're simply never going to get them again. And it looks like LEGO aren't going to be returning to the theme properly, probably ever, apart from perhaps another future icon set. It's just going to be down to ideas and the Bricklink Designer Program to give us these things. So if this had been done for a different faction, I would be all over it. but unfortunately, because of that, I would have to vote elsewhere. I simply want the other factions to come back. That aside though, cool idea, really close to maximum pieces, 3,994. I think it's quite a novel concept. I'm liking the choice of the sort of sandstone colours that our fan designer has picked for us here. The layout is interesting as well. Easy access to all the parts, opens out, good space on the interiors with nice detailing. This is the sort of thing that I feel really lends itself to play. You're not cramped in. You can imagine stories unfolding here. Oh, I like it. There's even walls that open out for more access. So very well thought through. This is the sort of thing I very much enjoy. Now then, on to our fifth largest. Yes, only 5 left, and the Fort by the River is up next. Immediately, really cool layout. Grabs the attention. It just looks super fun. The sort of thing I would love to get built and immediately start playing with. I mean, here is a build where a lot of little details have been put into it. 3,994 pieces. It's almost topping it out. Again, it's going to be expensive, but it looks like it would be worth it. From that entry ramp to the portcullis, to the water lapping around underneath the rocks and the dungeons, all the way to the top of the tower, this seems to boast big amounts of playability. There's also little minifigures representing multiple factions, from the Forestmen to the Black Knights to the Lion Knights, and there's a great amount to explore on the interior. This fully comes apart to give us a good amount of access. So whether you do just want to have this purely for display purposes, or you like the playability factor, I feel that it is offering both. Perhaps a little strange how so many of our factions seem to be together in the build, but maybe they're all trying to conquer it. I'm sure there's a story behind it there somewhere. Overall, I just really like the shaping. The detailing on the exterior is nice, but of course there are just all those little interior scenes going on too. So to my mind, definitely one of the better submissions. Our next contender is the King's Castle. The King returns. Wow, this is definitely imposing. Look at the shaping and the detailing that's gone in here. Fantastically done. What a huge size set. This would look magnificent on display. Love the towers and the roofs. It's super. I think it'd be a really enjoyable build, and obviously just fantastic looking when actually done. Opens out as well to give us plenty of access to the interiors. Doesn't look cramped, there's lots of space, decent amount going on here. Perhaps could do with just a little bit more to add to the story. Easier said than done, I know, as this is coming in at basically the 4,000 piece maximum. Maybe just a slight bit of rejigging to give us a little bit more, but otherwise very impressive. Also comes with 10 minifigures and also the statue as well, so 11 minifigures in total as proposed, which would certainly be a very welcome amount to get. I think it's fair to say that whilst there are a few tweaks I'd like to see made, it's one of my favourites. Just overall, that exterior is fairly stunning. Bit of a show-stopping display piece, really. Okay, number 3, and this one clocking in at the full 4,000 pieces. Green Hills Keep, a transforming modular castle. There's definitely a lot of fun to be had. Now, I like the nod and the wink towards jousting in the courtyard. Probably something that would be better done outside, but it is cool. The main thing is, though, that you can transform this into multiple different build options, which does always give one the headache of thinking where are you going to start, but makes it different. Again, good interior, decent amount of space, lots of detail, good amount of story going on throughout with this one. And being able to rejig it in all these different ways, it's a good idea. I like it a lot. Perhaps my only criticism is that there is slightly too much going on here. I mean, 9 in 1, very impressive, but pare it back somewhat, I think. Very ambitious, let's put it that way. And I do appreciate and applaud that. Certainly would be interesting to build. Comes jam-packed with fun features. But I would say, personally, strip it back a little bit, lower the piece count, which, if it made it through, would in turn lower the price, and that could well make it better. But very interesting. It does intrigue me, this one. Now then, on to our penultimate submission, one by Sleepless Night, who anyone from Bricklink should now be fully familiar with. And we have our adventure in Transylvania, basically Dracula's castle. Wow. I mean, this is just gothic wondrousness. From the blood red walls to the twisting metal of the windows and the architecture, the mixture of this blue and black and even the purples against it. It is just oozing horror. I love it. Our little minifigures are fantastic as well. Once again, a full story, albeit short, has been put in here, which really adds itself to this build. Basically some travelers that have got lost and stumbled upon this horrific place, which has been so beautifully designed. I think this is stunning. It's so different, so interestingly laid out. It's builds like this that I feel really elevate things beyond just Lego models into, quite frankly, artwork. Something that is hugely fun. You'd have a lot of time spent checking out all the fun details here and bringing a story to life. Also, just what a thing to have on display. Let me know in the comments how you feel about this one, because it is very different from your normal sort of castle. Perhaps that'll put some people off, but personally, I think this is great. It's not been cramped at all. The space that we've been given has been nicely and thoroughly detailed, fully thought out. All of the exterior is just wonderfully done. I mean, look at this. It's just brilliant. You've got a minifigure here going in terror, heading towards this big spider web. Got the Count coming out of his coffin down there. But overall, it is just the architecture that's been done here, the shaping, the choice of colours. I think this is a stunning, wonderful build. I would very much like to see this one become a finalist, and if it did, I would be there, ready to crowdfund it. I want this set. I think it is awesome. And that brings us to this, also with 4,000 pieces, the floating waterfall castle. What a concept this is as well. Immediately wonderfully fantastical, very different, one that again I think would be super interesting to actually put together. And once you have all the different things that it can do, so fun, providing loads of access, and when fully together, just being an absolute showstopper. If you did have this on a shelf or on a table side and somebody came in, it would immediately capture their attention, wouldn't it? I love the concept, the shaping, the colours, just pretty much everything about this submission is so cool. And that does provide a bit of a problem, because at 4,000 pieces, same as our previous one here, in fact the top 3, there's no way they can all be chosen. Only one model this big can make it through, and not just from castles either. We're talking all of the submissions. And if you're interested in the other themes, make sure to subscribe, because I have videos on those already out and still to come out as well. Only one of this sort of size can actually make it, and I'm torn as to which I would like to see do it. I think, in all honesty, I probably prefer Dracula's castle here. There's just something about it that really does it for me, but boy, this is a good submission as well. Very cleverly done, and something again I would be very keen to crowdfund and actually get as a set. So thoroughly thought out and a really, really cool concept. Now you only have until June 14th to actually go over, put in your votes for what you want to see made here. So make sure to do so. Get commenting below. I want to know what you think about all of these, and I do look forward to seeing you on the next one.